Okay, everybody, we're going to get started on our panel. The ladies on the panel are Donna Lange, Sunni Lippincott, my mom, Kim Leddy, Nicole Hinken, and bless me, Sheila Wattier. Sorry. So if you ladies would make your way up to the stage, we've got microphones for you to talk into because we're going to do the live stream. This is the question asking microphone. So if you have a question you want to ask, come up to the microphone so that we can hear the question asked, and then we'll just turn it loose to our panel of godly women, and they will give us answers. If you guys want me to get things rolling with a couple of questions, I can do that. Or if somebody is ready to jump in, come get the mic. No, it was me. Should we spread them out a little bit? Are they too close? Yeah. Is it this one, right? We won't put it in the stand. I'll just pass it to whoever. So the way that we'll do this is I'll start asking you questions. And if you ladies want to come line up, or if you're ready to ask a question, come up here. I know it's a lot to ask to come up here and speak into a mic. But if you want to have your question answered, you got to do it. So I'll start. No. Nope, got to come talk in a mic. All right. I'll start with a question, and then we'll just go from there. Maybe I should premise it just saying we're looking for biblical answers. We are looking for investment and, things that are going to point us to God. But also there are some practical things that you don't have to, you don't have to say oh, this is a Bible verse for this. You could say, oh, this is how I make sure I have food for everybody all the time. So, there can be those kinds of questions. It doesn't all have to be marriage related. It doesn't all have to be mom related. You can ask other questions about just life in general, because these women have experience, life experience, church experience, mom experience. So we are just ready for them to answer our questions. So does anybody want to start? Okay, Star.
Hello? Okay. I have two questions. Do you want me to ask both, or? Okay. So when you were talking about when Amy was talking about our spouses, what I realize and I see is that sometimes I feel led to help my husband when my husband is working or doing something, and I think that's our natural response. What do y'all think about that? Do you feel naturally led, like two pastors' wives, you know what I mean, to naturally always help your husband when you see that you can? And what does that look like?
Okay, well, I'm a certified professional life coach, so I instinctively always want to try to help my husband. And the first thing I learned in life coaching is that you can't coach your own family, but I wanted to try. And I had to learn that when Nathan is going through something, ask, do you want help or do you want to be heard? And that kind of helps. Does he want me to assist in coming up with something that can help him with a solution? Or is he just figuring it out but just wants to get it off his chest and have someone listen and be there to support him? So that's kind of been a way that I've been able to navigate through that, is, do you want help or do you want to be heard? And that kind of takes the pressure off of, well, let me fix the problem for you. Because a lot of times for them, it's, they're fixers naturally. They want to fix it, and so a lot of times me trying to give that would make it worse. And in that way, it's helped us kind of navigate, well, let me just hear. And even I know from coaching, even having someone just get something off of their chest, it helps them feel better.
Mainly, William just wants me to sit and listen to whatever he's talking about, and he really likes that. He just wants me to sit there and listen, and I'll sit and we'll talk for 20 or 30 minutes or more or whatever, and he just wants me to be respond to that and not really help him. A lot of times I don't even know, because he's like on his own. Like he if you see him running around, he's doing stuff because he has the thing in his head to do whatever it is, and I'm not a mind reader. You know what I mean? Like, I know he's trying to do something, but he's focused and he's doing it, and so just let him do it. You know what I mean? And then, but if he is actually looking for something, I can find things. I'm a good finder. So so if I see that he's looking for something, and I can usually find whatever it is he's looking for. So I'm aware of what he's doing, and I'm observing him. Like you said, your kids observe. Well, I'm sitting there observing, and I try to be a mind reader, but I usually can't. I mean, I can guess, but I'm not always accurate. And that's really important. Don't assume something. A lot of times we assume stuff and it's not true. And so, and then William's like, well, why did you think I would do that? Or why would you think I would think that? Or something. And I'm like, oh, I made it up in my own head, you know. So I try not to assume anything, but I do try to observe and say, hey, I'll help you find whatever you're looking for. And then, but he just really, the biggest thing I've learned over the 40 years is he just wants me to sit and listen to him for a while, like however long it is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And it's hard for me to sit still. So it's difficult for me, as I'm always on the go doing stuff. Oh, I got to go chapstick. I got to do this. I got to do that, you know, and then, or I have to go to the bathroom. And so I kind of say, okay, let me go to the bathroom first, and then we can sit and talk, because he doesn't want me to like interrupt. Don't interrupt him. That really is helpful. So I don't know. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's to any question you're gonna have your own. Yeah, but I think that, as you know, if you want to try to find a Bible verse to fit in that, you know, is, you know, in Ephesians talks about the wives are supposed to help their husbands, and we're a team, you know, and our goal, what is our focus, what is our goal, and if we're both striving to serve God and to have a positive outcome of something, you know, that's why I would do it. That's my motivation.
Sunni kind of touched on, obviously, with some of her stuff. So how do you let go and trust God completely with your babies in their trials and tribulations? I think anybody can answer that, so I'm going to sit down.
A quick answer here is that you have to continually remind yourself and talk to the Lord about trusting. You have to say, Lord, I am struggling with this, and I want to trust you, and please help me trust you. And just keep reminding yourself of that, and keep turning back to him, and he can help you let go. Sometimes it comes in increments that can lengthen. Somebody else might have something on that too.
Jeremy always tells me to not be worry and well doing. And so I follow that, because as a mom, you're always going to worry. You can't help that. And so you do have to just ask God to get you through that. And there's no human answer for it to deal with it. So don't be worrying, well doing. God's got it.
Well, yeah, that's funny. The only thing I can think of is that, like, when your kids are leaving or doing something on their own, is that, or you feel like they're pulling away, or they've found other interests, is that I've taught them all I could teach them. I've done everything that I could to teach them something, and that now they have to learn something that I can't teach them. And I've already prayed them to live for God. I've already prayed for them to search him out and to follow his word. And so then I just trust that. And then I'm like, you just have to kind of give a release, because that's I don't know. That's all I can explain, is that they have to learn something. We all learn by our experiences, and they have to learn something that I'm not doing anymore. or that it's not me.
And I have a comment that's steered more toward having 4 adult children with kids of their own, because there are things that I see in their life that I would still like to speak into, but I don't feel like it's my place. And so I just tell myself that I am not their only source of help. I was their mom for a time, and I had a different role than I do now, and I'm still their mom now, and I can be a really big part of their life, but it's got to change. And I pray a lot that God will put other people in their lives, that they'll have godly men to look up to, maybe in their workplace or whatever, that they will find good resources at the churches they go to, and you just do a lot of praying for them, adult children at least.
And especially if they belong to him, you can comfort yourself by telling the Lord, Lord, this is your child. If they have accepted him as their Savior.
I had an idea. You can sit where you are, and I'll bring the mic to you if that makes you feel better. I'll go ahead and ask the question. I have a list of things that some people sent me some ideas, or I was just listening, out for some questions that I should ask, just in case there was a lull. I fully expect you guys to ask questions. I hope you have more questions, but just to fill some space if we need it. The first one, how do you find a balance between advocating for your needs and trusting God to fill your every need? Is there a place for asking others for help, or are you only supposed to depend on God?
I separated those questions, but if I could, I need a drink of water.
Oh, yeah,
you.
that was an extra. Oh,
Thank you.
I've got some. Oh, Hannah's bringing.
That's nice. Thank you, Anna. So you sent these and I worked on them. How do you find a balance between advocating for your needs? Thank you. And trusting God to fill every need. So I feel like this deals with all of our relationships. What you need from your spouse, from your kids, from your friends, from your parents, from your family, and from your church family, from everyday people you encounter. So sometimes I can feel overwhelmed with people. I don't do very good in social interactions. Like, I'm probably looking like an apple right now. I'm sweating profusely. I cry with others. Others make me cry. So, I get overwhelmed with people easily. I'm in a much different place now than I used to be. I feel that I'm just like everyone else. There is room for growth. My old self would be easily overwhelmed, and I would try to avoid as much interaction as possible. Let's see. I can't even read my writing. But because during that time, I was not completely trusting in the Lord. So not trusting in the Lord only made things harder on myself. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, there was no balance. I always knew God was there to help, but I wasn't taking his help at the time and was trying to do it all myself. This life was getting very difficult and annoying. I literally prayed to God for the Lord to help me overcome my own insecurities and boundaries. I asked the Lord for me to start talking to people, including family. This life was absolutely not working for me, and I needed to submit to God to take care of my needs. I used to worry all the time, and I no longer do that. The Lord took that away when I leaned and learned to trust on him. And once again, the verse that Jeremy's always telling me is 2 Thessalonians 3:13, but ye brethren, be not weary in well-doing. And to the second part, is there a place for asking others for help? Are you only supposed to depend on God? Well, Jeremy and I were always helpers, and it was very difficult to accept and ask for help. We always felt like we needed to help people, but we couldn't let people help us. And those are things that we're still working on, learning how to let people do things for us. Because we feel like we don't deserve to ask for help. We feel like we're supposed to serve other people. So we're always in our mind thinking, do we really deserve the help, or should we be doing better for other people? And so let's see. I'm all over the place. Your main focus should be dependency on God, though. It really should. Because obviously we can't do everything on our own. We need God to take care of all the things in our life. And let's see. I've watched God send help when we needed it, but it was only when we asked for it. If you don't ask, He's not going to help you. You have to be trusting that He's going to help you. And so my verse was the same that Amy used, Philippians 4:19. But my God shall supply all your needs according to His riches and glory by Christ Jesus. And then Psalms 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very pleasant help in trouble. So I would say, yes, we need to depend on God.
I do the best I can with what I can do, and I prepare as much as I can, and then I say, God, fill in all the blanks, fill in all the places that I'm missing, and then things happen that I don't even expect. Like 2 days ago, I'm driving to the hospital to spend the night with Granny, and then I had this thought, well, I didn't have my drink cup. I wanted a tumbler, because you can go in there and you can get ice water. And you don't have. I didn't bring my cup with me, and I wanted a cup. Okay, and right, I'm like by Aldi, but Aldi's closed, right? So then I go a little further down. I found a store over there, and there were these. Everybody sells these tumblers and drink cups, And there were 3 choices, and they were all about the same price, about $15, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, this is a cool one. It has a speaker and it has a stand for your phone. Like, versus the other ones, they didn't. And then and I had my cup by my front door to get out, but I just in a hurry to get there. And then, so I get to the hospital, we're great, everything. And I open the box up, I clean it up, rinse it out. I think I put some water in it or whatever. Anyway, at 3:00 in the morning, Granny's blood pressure went up to 200 over 100 or something really high, and she worries about stuff, and so I think it was a medical thing too, but I'm thinking, what could I do for her to help her to calm down and to bring her blood pressure down? And then she loves hymns, I'm like, oh, I have a tumbler that has a speaker on it, and so for 2 hours from 3 in the morning to 5 in the morning, I played hymns on this speaker, and it calmed her down. She went sound asleep, So, I can prepare as much as I can, but God fills in. I had no idea I needed a speaker at the hospital to help her calm down. So, so I pray every day, Lord, please help me to do the very best that I can of what you want me to do, and you just ask God to just fill in the spots that you have no oversight on. And I think there was another answer to prayer not really. Well, something else happened. Anyway, things happen. All of a sudden, things happen. And it's a daily thing that, I'm just like, oh, this happened. And I think something else. I can't remember what it was. And as soon as it happens, I start telling people, God provided this. Oh, I know what it was. This isn't having to do with Granny. But okay, so Caleb and I are talking. He goes, I have an assignment. I need to. It's due at midnight. No problem. And he tells me this assignment. I said, hey, Caleb, I was at my mom's this morning, and she had the paper that you need on her kitchen table. And he goes, okay, I'm going over there right now. But I'm just like, God will work things out. So you just pray. You don't have to pray like for specific things. Just a general is what I do. You can do whatever you want, but I just pray, Lord, help me to do what I need to do, and that it will be for your glory, for your honor, and it works out. I mean, things just fit in, you know. Like, and Caleb's like so happy. I mean, because he was kind of befuddled. He didn't know how he was going to get that assignment done, and just things kind of worked out. And I think something else happened with Ben too. You know, almost every day, I have like a God moment, and I look for that. I look for that every day. So, it's fun.
I think the key is recognizing that trusting God and asking for help, they don't have to be opposites. They can go hand in hand, depending on where we're at. Because even walking the path that I'm walking right now with adoption, I have a very seasoned friend who is a very strong believer, but she has a nonprofit that helps people through the adoption process. And there's been times that my spirit has been weak, even crying out to God, I feel weak, and she's there for me. And, you know, asking for help, for prayer, for advice. You know, how can I get through this? What did you do? Having someone who's already walked that path offer that help to me, and that saying, just understanding, hey, I know how you feel. That's normal. Just give me so much peace. So God places people in our lives that help answer our prayers.
Yes. Work through others, and it is absolutely all right to ask for help. And it's important to, sometimes we're told by the world what our needs are, and you really have to be careful with that, because it can be so many lies that we don't need all that the world tells us we need as moms and wives and as women. So be sure it's a legitimate need. Have a confidant that you can run things through with, and just be sure it's a legitimate need, and then pray to God. Ask God if there's somebody else that can help you, and he can lead you there, and do ask for help.
We are called to be our husband's helpmate, and we are called at the same time not to usurp or usurp authority over a man. Have you ever had a situation where you saw that your husband was about to like die if you did not step in and rescue him or get some help from somebody else, or he was going down? Like in situations like that, is it kind of like the Titanic? You just grab his hand and just jump down with him, or you'd be like, okay, I got to go get somebody, or I got to go do something. I have hands and feet. I'm gonna have to step in, or he's gonna have to, or he's gonna die, or our whole house is gonna fall. And so, how do you address questions like that without trying to dominate him or go over his authority?
We're thinking here.
Yeah. This might be I'll say a little bit, somebody else can say a little bit, and we go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
You can speak your concerns to your husband respectfully. And then Amy talked about how your husband belongs to the Lord. If he's a believer, he's God's son, and you can speak to God about his son and ask him to deal with the problem. And that might be all I have right now.
I'm going next.
Okay.
You have really voiced an important concern to godly women, because we want to do what's right, and yet we're supposed to be the helpmeets, right? I read the most awesome book called Created to Be His Helpmeet. And it really set my mind straight on something. And it's something that I have taken the advice of, and I've done it ever since. So it's been like 20 years of this, and it really, really works. Okay, so we trust God in all things. And, you know, like if there's a problem in the household, or there's a certain way you would like for your husband to speak with your kids, it can be anything, okay? And you really have your own opinion about it, and you want things to be done the way that you think is best, but you're not supposed to be bossing everybody around about it. So if you live your life overlooking as much as you can the things that aren't so important. Like they say, what's that saying about
Choosing your battles.
choose your battles? Okay, you live your life that way, day by day. You show respect. You let him be the authority figure. Just do everything you can in your power to be a godly woman as the wife and the mother in your house. Okay, then if something comes along that you really, like you're saying, things are going to go down, like this is something you feel like you have to talk about, then your husband is going to know that you're not this nitpicky, controlling person who's always, being a biddy, okay? You're mostly doing everything that you're supposed to do. When you come to him and you say, can we talk? And then you say, I have an appeal. So that's what it's called. I have an appeal. Please listen to me on this. So you voice your very, very sincere concerns, and he's gonna listen. Now, if he, still does what's wrong, it's on him. But when you live your life every single day, and you're not the nitpicky, bitty wife, then when you come up with something, then I think he's going to listen to you, and at least consider it. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Jeremy likes my input because he wants to know my opinion before he does things on a lot of things. We make a lot of our decisions together. And then there has been times where things hasn't gone the way that Jeremy's wanted it, and those are usually Jeremy's choices, and I'll always ask him if he asked God first. That's holding him accountable for whatever disaster he's gotten himself into, but then together we can talk about it and try to work through it and get out of it. But he's always considered my input. So unfortunately, I don't have another answer for a really difficult side of things, but that's how we deal with it.
I have an idea. Go on a trip together for about 3 days. Just the two of you. Work it out. Doing what they said.
Yeah. I just recently heard something. I wish I could remember word for word, but it was a wife telling a husband, you, before God, are the spiritual leader of this home. If you take us down, we go down.
Yeah.
And you have to answer to God. So, and she was adding her support. I'm following you. But if you take us down, really open his eyes on that one.
But you do need a summit. You do need to talk to each other and work it out. Yeah.
I'm not on the panel, but can I weigh in a thought? There's been a couple of times where there would be a situation where there would actually be scripture, and our husbands can argue with us and our logic and our emotions, but they can't as easily argue with scripture. And so I have very humbly, very sweetly gone to Harley a couple of times and been, kind of in the throes of a situation. I didn't directly tell him what I was doing. Yes, I was being manipulative, but I would say, hey, I'm kind of wondering about this passage. Can you help explain it to me? And about halfway through, he looks at me and he goes, I know what you're doing. But I didn't have to say it. God was able to say it through his word to Harley. I just simply brought the word to him, and that was a non-confrontational way that I was able to resolve a couple of things. I have a question though. I want to know, I am seeing so much about how we are supposed to make our marriages first over our kids, and as mamas, sometimes that is a really, really hard thing to do. We get in the throes of taking care of the kids, and husband becomes a backseat. And I just want to know what you have done or suggestions that are affordable because not everybody can take a 3-day trip. What are some things that y'all have done to keep the closeness, to keep the fire going?
Well, realizing that that is correct because the world puts it out of order all the time, especially in Christendom. I hear moms all the time say, well, my babies are first. Don't mess with my babies. Technically, according to the Bible, that's incorrect. It's God, it's your spouse, it's your children. So we have to be careful because Satan can use something. He's the father of lies. He can use something like your children and mess up the order, and you don't even realize it's happening. So being aware, being cognizant that your vertical relationship affects your horizontal ones, so always keeping God first. And that's even just praying together, making sure something simple as before bed, you're praying together. You don't need to spend money on that. Taking walks, you don't have to spend money on that. You don't have to go on a trip. You can take a walk together. Things are hard. I've got kids in every stage of life right now. I'm going to this game, going to that game, going to this practice, going to that. But, making sure we make sure our kids are a priority. We can make sure that our spouse is a priority as well. I read something the other day, and I have been applying this, and it's been amazing. It said, and you're going to laugh, but you ever walked in your house and saw how happy your pet was to see you? And how that just touches your heart. Your pet, your dog just goes crazy to see you. But a lot of times when our husbands get home, we're flat out exhausted. So we throw them the kid, or we sigh, or we say, I'm going to go take some me time or something. We haven't seen him all day. So it said, if you showed up for your spouse with the same excitement, see where that will lead. And so I've been trying, when Nathan walks in, just smiling and expression and, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Just the difference that makes, and how he's more willing to talk about his day, to share, to, and we're conversing with one another. So it doesn't have to be, expensive ways. It can be little tiny things that make a difference, and keep that order in check.
That's what I always say. I'm with the dogs at the door wagging my tail.
It works. It works.
I said I'm with the dogs. I'm always at the door wagging my tail too.
I always tried to greet William at the door, and then when the kids were little, we would do that. I said, let's go meet Dad, go see if he needs any help. You do set an example of, for your kids to say, oh, when the dad comes home, we give him attention. We greet him, we're happy to see him, and then that would,
Yes.
Yes.
right. And I always try to have some kind of food somewhere when he walks in the door.
Yeah.
That
checks.
Yeah. On the counter, so he can walk in and just grab something and put it in his mouth, or I have dinner ready, or yeah, because that's what they want. They want food first, then they're going to sit down and rest. But
Yes. Yes.
but just I don't know. You do what Sunni just said. Yeah, I mean that would be, going on a walk, going on, pray together. William and I tried to pray together every night. That is really very helpful.
Try hugging your spouse for
Yeah.
30
Oh
seconds.
yeah, I was going to say that works too. We really do. At first, we started counting to 20. Yeah. Like if you count to 20 while you're hugging somebody, it's kind of funny, but it's like that's a long time.
Don't
But
count, just
30
do it.
seconds is good. Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Try it.
Do that. Yeah, count to 20. And you can stretch to 30.
30's the peak.
It was pretty funny. But I do like the dog thing. You know, because wasn't there a joke? It's a joke about your wife is in the trunk or something, and she's mad. It's a joke. Oh, my dad loves that joke. Yeah. The wife is in the trunk, and it's closed and everything, and she's in there and she's pounding on it, and then when you open the trunk, she's still mad, right? And isn't it that if you put the dog in the trunk, he'll be happy to see you? So it's like it's the same thing. Yeah. But it's funny. Yeah,
I actually do the hug thing with Jeremy in the morning before he leaves and when he comes home. And I always ask him about his day as soon as he comes in the door. And that's really helpful to him. It's like he can decompress, and it relieves the stress of the day off of him just coming home. And it makes him happy to come home, knowing that I'm there waiting for him.
My mom could answer the question.
I was going to say, we call him when he's coming home. And then we can welcome him. And also, clear the floor of all the toys so that he can walk in the house.
I have a question or input that maybe is a little different off of that. Something, not all women are always at home. Some of us work. Yeah. So that answer maybe pose that question differently, because when I was working full time with a small child at home, and you both come home, you're both empty.
Yes.
And now it's time to both give to the child and prepare dinner. So that looks a lot different than what some people are doing.
Right. And that's where, like, me and Sheila, we have teamwork. We both
team.
go in
Yes.
there and cook supper.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
he'll stand there while I cook.
Yes.
And you have to have a good attitude.
But he'll stand there and talk to me.
Yes.
Like,
It's
not like, oh, I'm
important.
going to give you my thing. You know, to work.
It's important.
We do that together. And that's good quality time.
Yeah. Catch up.
This thing is really powerful. Why were you? Is this being recorded? Oh.
You should have said no.
Mm.
Now you got to ask a question.
I know.
You think I'm struggling talking.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, y'all, my husband's in the room. He's seeing all these tactics. I'm in trouble.
That's fine. Okay, so I have a 5-year-old and an almost 7-year-old. We homeschool. We're with each other 24/7. It's just breaks like this that I'm away from them. And so, and I love to be goofy, and I'm not a very strict mom or anything like that. I don't even know if I want to be. I don't even know if I'm capable of it. But how do you get them to listen? And I've already lost. I lost the toddler years. So whatever I was supposed to do those years, it's gone. But I am really struggling getting them to listen while we're still having fun. They don't want to follow my instructions while we're being goofy or playing. They wait until stern, rah, 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 mom, before they're going to listen. So y'all got any tactics on this?
I do.
Okay, I'm listening.
When I was frustrated because I would tell my kids stuff and they would run off and they wouldn't remember or whatever. And I would say, when I would talk to them, I would say, okay, what did I just tell you? Repeat after me. Okay, what are my expectations? What do I expect of you? And then they remember when they answer back.
Yeah.
And then they know. Then you know if they don't do what you ask them to, that they want to be disciplined. They want discipline. They want to, whatever your contradictions are to not obeying. That's what they want. They want that. They feel love when they are disciplined. They feel like they're being loved.
What are your tactics on discipline then?
The one I used the most was stand in the corner. Stand in the corner, count to 100 or whatever. I wouldn't have him. I didn't have him stand in the corner for all day, you know. And also, I didn't nitpick. I didn't every single time they messed with me. I didn't have them in the corner. But the ones where they were obviously disobedient and they're choosing to not do what I asked, like I don't know what it would be. Don't hurt someone or whatever. I don't know. Then they would do that. Anyway, and it takes a while. It takes their childhood to learn everything. I mean, you don't learn in one day.
Yeah. Sometimes they need an immediate consequence. The fun's over. And it can be for 2 minutes. Or it can be until tomorrow. Okay, you're not listening, the fun's over. But again, you can get right back to it if that's, if that works. You need something that's going to get their attention. You have to come up with some kind of immediate consequence.
No.
Oh, what are some good examples?
Well, my kids were disobedient in the store, and I told them, I said, well, you cannot go shopping for a month. So I did not bring them to the store for an entire month. And I made arrangements. Every time I went to the store, I had to make arrangements to have somebody watch them, and so that I could go to the store, or someone did all my shopping for me, whatever it was. And then when we got back after that month, and I said, this is the test. We haven't gone to the store for 1 month. Now here's the test. Can you behave? And everyone did.
A consequence I used the other day that was effective. We have 2 noisy chickens in our house. One of those rubber honkers, and and one that you push the button and it does the chicken dance. And they're obnoxious. Well, one of them got used as a weapon, and I said, okay, if that happens again, it goes to the attic. It happened again. So I took that honking rubber chicken and pulled the attic door down and tossed it up there. Then the other noisy chicken was an issue sometime later. And I just said, does that one need to go to the attic, or can you? And it was not a problem. So I don't know what the consequence would be in your, each case can be so different, but ask the Lord to show you what will get your children's attention.
Your kids are all different,
Yes.
and they'll respond differently.
Yes.
My oldest is she was very strong-willed. And she's just very strong-willed, and just, the saying no, and even corner or even spanking did not derail her at all. And so I started reading, because you can, there's biblical, resources out there. And so I read a book on, raising a Christian strong-willed child. And for her, it was giving her choices. So we're going to go, her favorite thing was to visit Papa and Nana. Well, I'm like, Aiden, we've got to clean up before we go. She wanted. I said, okay, clean up your toys so we can go. She wanted to. I said, okay, well, here's the choice. You can clean up your toys and we'll go visit Papa and Nana. Or if you don't, we're going to cancel the visit. And she started learning that her choices had consequences. And so even with, having fun with homeschool, say, okay, we want to have fun, but we've got to get this done. So you have a choice. We can do it and make it fun, or we're going to have to take the fun away and you're going to just have to focus on getting it done. But you get to make that choice. And there was, for Aiden, taking that responsibility, it changed her. She started realizing an if-then situation. If I make this decision, there's consequences, and I might lose my ability to go visit Papa and Nana. And for her, that was the worst case imaginable. And sometimes it punishes you, because I liked those visits. Yeah. It meant freedom for me. But that was really, really effective, was making a choice for them. Now, you're still not like choosing that they get to do whatever they want, but choosing, if you do this, then you're going to get your, you'll get your reward. But if not, there's no reward there. And they do start making those synapses in their mind that, okay, this is not going to be fun for me if I don't listen to what mom says. And you know, with my other two, I could tell them and they just do it. So you do have to kind of figure out, you know, what works for them. But if you do have that strong-willed child that I had, that was an effective way to start, you know, getting her to make the right choices.
And for me, I took away the things that they loved the most. And Katie's married to my son Jonas, so you remember this, Katie. That boy loves art. That's the only thing I could punish him with that would make him do what he was supposed to do. Okay, you're grounded. You can't draw, you can't color, you can't do anything. No making nothing until you do what I tell you to do. So you remember that, Katie. You're married to him. Still works.
My two youngest loved coming to church, and if something wasn't going right at home on a Wednesday and there was CBC that night, I could just ask them, do you want to go to CBC tonight? And you can't always hold church over the kids, and it works, but it worked for those two.
I have it kind of goes along with the same question. Dinner time. Dinner time is such a struggle with me. I have super picky eaters. My husband's very picky. My bonus son is very picky. I'm picky. Like, it's not I have struggled since day one over this whole dinner thing. But then my kids have added another element, especially Gideon. He takes 2 hours to eat his dinner. And we're all done. We're over it. And he also doesn't want to eat with utensils. And I really thought before I got married, before I had kids, if you told somebody 100 times, like literally 100 times, that they would do it. Or they would know how to do it. Because a lot of times it is just this absent-minded thing. I was so wrong. I mean, I'm pretty sure we hit that 100 number on a weekly basis. Every single meal. So how do you get them to eat? It's their favorite food. It takes them 2 hours to eat dinner. And then use a fork. Remember to, without popping his hand. That's the only thing we found, and I don't want to hit my kid every dinner. So what do you do? Anyone ever have this problem? Okay, what about 2 hour dinner? How do you get him to eat? Actually, I mean, we have to tell him every bite, put food in your mouth. So like, and I'm passed out by dinner time.
Delina, I have to say, if I had a whole family that wouldn't eat what I was fixing, I would fix dinner, put it on the table, and leave the house.
Well, that's how I didn't do it. I mean, I go in my bed. I'm like, I got work to do. I gotta go and eat.
Yeah.
I was a kid who got with the light turned off, the kitchen clean, sitting at the table, was not eating it. My parents shut the light off, cleaned the kitchen, went sat on the couch, and then I remember my dad only a few times kind of giving in. But other than that, you know, that's what it took. And then as far as the timeline, that's what I would do in picky eating. If you're trying to get them to eat vegetables, this is what a therapist will tell you. To literally mix in foods that are good for them with foods that they want.
And we were talking about this earlier. It's not going to be forever.
Yeah.
Your kid won't be 18 still crawling in bed with you. I mean, it's a season. My kid would not eat. She didn't eat meat. She wouldn't eat meat. Now she eats everything. But I eventually had to quit fighting it because the doctor will tell you they'll eat when they're hungry. They'll eat. I mean, you can do what you can do, but you have to understand too. At some point, it's just a phase. It's just a time, like, you know. And like she said, choose your battles. If he's eating at home with his hands, I doubt he's going to go on his first date eating it with his hands. Like, eventually, and if he does, she might think it's endearing if it's supposed to be his wife. Who knows? Like, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Like, you know, he's going to get to a point where you're going to worry about the fact that he's not showering, okay? So, I mean, because boys become teenagers, and they gross. They so gross. Whew.
I have
but
one
just-
comment. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Okay.
I think you have to, in your own mind, like formalize to yourself This is how I want things to be, and I'm going to do my best to structure things this way. So if you decide you really, really want him to finish a meal in 30 minutes, and you tell him, you say, this is the way it's going to be from now on. You're going to have a breakfast, you're going to have a lunch, and you're going to have a dinner, and it's going to be 30 minutes, and I'm going to put the timer on it. And if you decide that's the way you want it to be, you can't cave, okay? Parents cannot cave. When you decide something, it's the way that you're going to structure it. So you put that timer on. I'm just giving you an example. You put the timer on, 30 minutes is done, clean up the kitchen, it's over. And you do not let him snack. It doesn't matter if he cries all night long. It's going to be breakfast, and then you do it again. And at some point, kids will find out that you're very serious about this, because this is what mom has said. This is what I've decided is best for you and our family. So you make your decision, and you don't cave. And you just see if it works.
And it's okay for them to go hungry.
Yes.
It is.
I do. Yeah.
Sick when they don't eat.
I do remember one time I took the plate, I put saran wrap over it because they wouldn't finish eating. I put it in the refrigerator, gave it to them for breakfast. Can do that. And they never had another issue the rest of their life. Really, never had another issue the rest of their life. I only had to do it one time with one kid. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. They finished it. Right. Right. So you just put the food up, and then that's what they serve them next time. It only happened one time. They never did it again. The other thing, he wants control. Find a list. Make yourself a list of things that he has control over. And if you can let him have control over whatever, like what he wears, or something that he wants some control in his life, and he's picking food. So find something that that you think, oh, he would make a good decision on this. He wants control over this. Let him figure. You have to work that out with your life. I don't know, but he wants control.
Thank you. Okay, I don't really have a question. It's more of a generalized, just talk to us about non-sexual intimacy in marriage.
That's silly. William walks in the kitchen and he hits me on my back. And then he's, you know what I mean? There's a lot of touching can happen that's not sexual. Anyway, that happens.
Even beyond.
Yeah.
Your experiences, what it's healthy, what it's supposed to look like.
I have something. Women talk more than men do most of the time. And if there's a dull moment, we think we need to talk. But I've found that when I'm quiet, Mark will talk. If I give him enough time, he will start to talk. And if it doesn't happen, like we're on a walk together and it's just silent, it's kind of awkward, I'm trying to give him time and it's not working. So then I'll say, is there anything on your mind? Like, what are you thinking right now? And then he starts to talk. Or if there's something I know he's interested in, like politics, and I'm totally like, not there. Like, I'm interested, but I know nothing. I'll say, what's going on in politics these days? So like, even if he doesn't come up with something to say, I'm kind of getting a little something started. Is that what you mean? Is to, like, just how to foster something? Connection time?
Yeah, I think that our culture, life, spends so much emphasis in Christian women, in particular, emphasis on physical intimacy, and then we lose. You don't hear a lot of people talking about their healthy, intimate relationships apart from isn't kind of taboo. It's not really talked about. Like it's not. Anyway, so I was just curious what your guys'
My first thought before you said not physical was to hold hands in public, to lock arms, you know, but that's physical. But it's a good thing to do away from the home, you know. I had another thought, but it'll have to come back to me in a minute.
So I have everything here if anybody wants to read it on what it's like in my marriage. But Jeremy and I just like spend a lot of time together as much as we possibly can. Of course, I can't speak for everybody else because my kids are grown. I'm hoping to be a grandmother one day. Katie. So our intimacy is even just being near each other. We can be in the same room doing different things, but can still have conversation. Jeremy can read a book and still conversate with me about things. And, you know, we go on walks every night together. We go to the gym together. Like, we share our health together. Like, I used to be 235 pounds when we first moved down here. And I wouldn't have been able to lose that weight if I didn't have a supportive husband who also went on that journey with me. He didn't need to lose any weight. You see Jeremy, he's the same. But, you know, supportive. And then, you know, just like the simple things, like it doesn't have to be sexual. Like I said about hugging in the morning, those are just emotional things that men need. They need that touch and they need that encouragement too. They need to feel the love. We don't always just need the sensual things for ourselves. They need it too. And, you know, and our marriage is like a relationship with Christ. It's constantly growing. It's constantly changing. So I take the time, like, because we're getting older. We're all going through different stages in our lives. You know, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. So your likes, your dislikes change. And so you want to continue to have conversation and communication with each other because I want to know the new Jeremy. I want to know like what his likes or dislikes are now that they weren't like a couple of weeks ago. Okay, for 10 years, that man let me cook him eggs and he did not like eggs.
Did he tell you?
No, he ate them. He likes them now.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. He thought he was going to hurt my feelings because I cooked for him and he didn't want to reject it. So and I'm like, I can't believe you let me cook that for you for 10 years and you didn't like it. That's a long time. Yes, yes. But now we have chickens and it's different. He's changed. He's grown. He's a different Jeremy. You know, he likes eggs. You know, things like that. So those are things to consider is the men need to, women are more emotional, you know, so men feel like they have to keep it inside. And so we have to encourage them to be able to openly be able to speak their feelings and what they have going on in their head. They should be able to communicate with us just the same as we throw all our stuff out at them. We're emotional. We're going to say this. We want to be confrontational. We want to deal with it right now. We have to be heard, and we need confirmation with what we feel. But men have always been taught that they feel like they just have to be strong, and they are not allowed to show that vulnerability. And so that's part of our intimacy too. I want Jeremy to be able to just communicate with me and share what's going on with him. So we talk a lot. I know it's not for everybody, you know, not all men are willing, but sometimes you have to get them to talk to you without they don't want to be judged by you. They just need you to listen. They need to know that you're a comforting ear for them just as you expect them to be for you too. And so I just lost my train of thought. But our tastes are always changing. We're continuing to grow. And so we need to continue to grow with each other and know our spouses together as well. Because we all change with seasons, different things. So I hope that was helpful in some sense.
Nate, go ahead, Sunni.
It might sound a little silly, but Nathan and I set goals together. So we got together and we said, okay, we're going to write down goals we have for ourselves, goals we have for our relationship, and goals we have for our family. And so we did that in silence, and then we shared them together. And that brought us so close together. That's how we got Phoenix. That was my third sign, because we're sharing our family goals. And I said, okay, what's your family goal? And he said, adoption. He said, what's yours? And I said, adoption. So it really, God used that to bring another life into our family. So Nathan's very goal oriented. And I learned that, doing something that they identify, bringing that into the marriage, and making it something that you can do together. Just something as simple as setting goals for ourselves. And it met my need and his need. And we were able to talk about, the things, because I like quality time. Nathan's love language is not quality time. So, we got to talk through that and figure out a way that we could have quality time together. So it really was beneficial for us to kind of make goals together as a couple, and it brought in an intimacy there.
Another thing I thought of is, it used to be the note in the lunchbox, but a sweet text. Tape a note to the steering wheel. Tape it where he might find it eventually. Stick a little note somewhere. Stick something in his Bible, and it can vary, with whatever intentions you want, but let it speak sunshine to his life.
I now make lunches for 2 men in my house to go to work.
Uh-oh.
And so
Don't get your notes mixed up.
I'm not writing anything like serious notes. But sometimes, because Jonathan's diet has to be a little different from Harley's or whatever, so they may have different food. So I just simply started putting sticky notes on their food containers and writing their names. And I, being girl that I am, I decided to use a green calligraphy marker. And I'm like, this is stupid. They're gonna think I'm a goofball for doing this, but I'm like making their names look all nice and pretty on these sticky notes and putting little hearts and stuff. Do you know that both of them came to me at different times and told me how special that was? Just seeing their name, that I took the time to write their name with special letters with hearts.
Yeah.
And that blew me away. I really didn't anticipate with either one of them. And it was something so little.
It's both love.
It did. And I also wanted to add something that God's been putting on my heart, laughter for connection, because we, once again, especially when you're in the throes of having kids and church work and all, whatever it is, we have so many things that pull at us. And laughter, the Bible talks about it being a good medicine. Well, it's a healing medicine for marriage. We need to be stupid and silly with our husbands. We need to make them laugh. We need to be their friend again. We need to remember the days of dating. And sometimes it can feel really awkward. But so far, he's actually, he looked at me like I was a little crazy a couple of times, but he's responded well. We really need to laugh with them.
Okay. Sorry, I had it ready and then I lost. What are some practical things I can apply to keep myself from being transactional in my relationships with my husband and with others?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, I have to do this so that they will do this. Or they did this for me, so now I have to do something for them. What are some practical ways to get that out of my head?
I
gratitude has been a huge thing for me when I want to score keep. Especially because I've got a baby now and I get tired. You know, I am home and Nathan works. So getting up in the, all night and then having to get up and to mother, it's a blessing, but it can also be really tiring on my spirit. And sometimes I can feel that score keep, coming in. And that's when I use gratitude. And I thank God for the ability to serve. It's flipping it. There's power in a pause, power in the pause, pausing when I want to, to say, well, I do this, or, to feel like, well, they should thank me. What is my why? What is the reason behind why I'm doing it? And then thanking God in that moment for the ability to give, the ability to help, the ability to love, the ability to serve. I found that gratitude has been very healing. And even sometimes I will send Nathan a text and thank him for what he's doing. In those moments that I feel maybe ungrateful, the fact that I'm stuck doing something, quote unquote, I will thank God and I'll send him a text and I'll thank him for what he's doing for our family, for his support and his love. And it's amazing how God will change my perspective when I use gratitude like that.
Is it flipped? Do you feel like if somebody does something for you, you have to do something in return? That too.
It's not like I feel like I need to one up anybody. It's that I feel like we need even, if there's gotta be give and take. There's gotta be both.
Balance.
If somebody's gonna take care of me, I've gotta take care of them too. I can't just be given and given and given and not have guilt about it.
One of the best points of advice I was given for that was don't steal their blessing. I was told that because I was constantly trying to, and they told me, they said, don't steal their blessing from them. If they give to you, if they compliment you, say thank you, because they were just blessed by blessing you. And so that's something that I will say even now. I heard that years and years ago, but I'll say that even now to myself, don't steal their blessing. Thank you.
Yeah.
In the same way that we don't have words for salvation, we have to be so careful to not allow words to be a part of our Christian life. Whether it's for God's approval, whether it's for other people. Sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing that this is God's gift. It's really, once again, it's upward, not outward. It's about God is using this person in your life, to bless you. And so, if you're in a position that you can do something or there, and God lays it on your heart, then by all means, but it shouldn't have to be an obligation.
We're running over time, but I want to let everybody ask every question that they have. So I'm going to do a last call. If you have been on the edge of your seat, I'm going to ask a question, but I'm too nervous. This is your last call. We're going to do maybe like 3 more questions. Okay.
I feel like a lot of the things that y'all said are just, well, just like do what God says, period. And trusting Him is basically the answer. But my husband and I have been married for over 20 years. We have 5 kids. But when I look back at the happiest times in our lives, it was worship. It was worshiping God together. It's always been worship. You forget about yourselves. You forget about any problems. You don't always have problems. But he was a music minister, and I was helping him sing. And we had no choice but to help other people because people were constantly, we had people over the house. We had to do different, all kinds of stuff to help. But those were the happiest times. We served people. But above that, we worshiped. Like, don't you want to just go out in the woods sometime and just worship God all night long? Like I would. I'm looking for a place. But I I think that would be that's the most intimate thing you could ever do with your husband, because God fills in the spaces, he fills in the gaps. And so after homeschooling and having 5 kids, that's what I want. I just want to go somewhere and worship God. I want to forget about everything, lay everything down, grab my husband, and I can talk to him on the cell phone if I want to. He can be in the background. But just worship. Just worship the Lord. That's all we need.
Okay. I really don't know how to form a question out of. I just want to hear you guys talk, kind of situation. It's not that I have a question, but so talk to us about spanking. What are your views, your beliefs? What did you do? What do you do? What are you doing? Do you spank? Do you not spank? Talk to us about that.
It's been so long since I've had to do that.
Yeah.
We did spank when it was necessary. There is a fine line between overboard and doing what's needed to be done. It doesn't have to be overdone. You just do enough to know that, like, they know that that's what they're gonna get. When I was a kid, my mom made me go pick my own switch, so that was partially why I did spank, but not as bad as I got when I was younger.
We spanked, but I can't give you any examples of why or when, because it was a rarity. I was always looking for other things like a natural consequence or something that fit the bill to teach them this is the way you should be doing this, not the thing that you chose. So we had just a whole lot of other things that happened. But sometimes you just feel like that's the right thing to do. And you do it not in anger, but you explain to the child, this is what's going to happen and this is why. And then it's just a punishment, but it can't be constant, and some kids, of course, aren't going to respond to it, and then you've got to deal with that. I think I had one that it didn't even help. But yes, we did, for sure.
I grew up with whippings being the form of discipline. So as a mom, I thought you had to spank. And I have regrets over spanking. And but I think there is still a place, especially in open rebellion. And if nothing else is working, then finally the spanking might work. Spanking doesn't work for all children, though. Some children get more rebellious when they're spanked. And you have to be creative and come up with something that is going to work for that child. So I don't know if that helps.
I mean, we spanked Aiden, but like I said, every child is different, and we realized very quickly that that's not what she was responding to. I did not respond to spankings. I thought, get it over with, and I'll get back to what I was doing. So with a strong-willed child, it needed to be something that really brought pain. And sometimes a spanking is not it. That was not what she wanted. Like, missing out on an event was really detrimental to her, and she understood very quickly that was worse than a quick spanking. Like, she doesn't want to miss out. And so it really is dependent on what the child, how they respond to it, because you want it to be, it's a consequence. So if it's not deeming effective as a consequence, then just doing it because you've always heard that's the right thing, it's not actually doing any good, so finding out what they respond to, I think, is the best form of, a punishment. They just need to understand that even as adults, we make decisions, and there are consequences for our decisions that we make, and some of them are more severe than others. And so that's a lesson that they need to learn. So really learning who your children are and what they respond to best, and how to get that across is more effective than what you're doing. I think it's the how you're doing it.
I think we did a few times. It wasn't my first choice. I always tried to do other things first. Like I also tried to look for praising them first, and we did sticker charts. I would make, when they filled the sticker chart up, then we would they would get rewarded for something. So when I would reward all the time, even for running and going doing something, they rarely misbehaved because they were always wanting the sticker. So they always wanted to, they always want to please me. They seemed like that to me. They were always saying, "What can I do for you, Mom? What can I do?" Always trying to please me all the time. They did, there were a few times where they were like, "Absolutely not, I'm not doing this," and then they were just really defiant. They had the choice to do this or that. And then I also, then we would give a spanking, but it was not very many. And William's not a pro spanker. So I don't think he ever did give a spanking. I don't know if he ever did. I can't remember. He did. Okay.
Go to the source.
Yeah, there we go. So, but we didn't do it after a certain age. I can't remember what age we stopped, but we did not do it forever. Probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe. I don't think they did anything after that. What do you remember, Anna? Yeah. But it doesn't work after they're 5 years old. I mean, because it's a parental wanting to control their child type thing. That's what spanking kind of is. And you can't get their attention any other way, so you resort to that. So my mom spanked me all the time, even when I was 10 or 11.
It's a mom thing.
She did. I have the wooden spoon she used to spank me with. I took it out of her house because I was tired of it. I have plenty of spankings.
Hide the spoon.
I did. The spoon is hidden. It's in my house right now. So she can't speak to spanking because she did it all the time. But I think rewarding your kid for stuff is way more productive than a spanking.
Spanker, and my dad only spanked me twice.
Oh, my dad was I can't even call it a spanking.
Yeah.
I remember
Just
he
be
told me.
disciplined.
I think you do it for a while. I think you can do it for a while because at the start they have no concept of right or wrong, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's wrong. Oh, I got discipline for it. Oh, that's it. Okay. Then they're like, oh, that's how it goes. Okay.
Well, and also, I struggle with wanting my child to obey me because we have this respect and a reverence between us.
Right, a relationship.
Versus wanting them to obey me because they're afraid of getting it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So I can see where it's developed that kind of fear about having to.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've done with that, with my kids, to go ahead and somebody, I think, led to this idea to let them know ahead of time that when you make a choice, you are the one who is choosing spanking. I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This
Set your
is not my
expectations.
choice. This hurts my heart. Jonathan, when he was, I don't remember how old he was starting to get a little bit bigger. And there had been something, and he had been very defiant. And I took a whole nother weird wild thought. I don't necessarily suggest this, but it really made a point and it worked. He had done something, and we had to go with it. And I told Harley, give me the spanking. And it was in my hand. He used the belt. And in front of Jonathan, Harley swatted my hand, and it hurt, left a red mark on my hand. And I used that to then explain to Jonathan that that's what Christ does for us, that he takes our punishment. And that young man cried more over watching me receive that than I think he ever did over a spanking.
Wow.
Make sure that your husband doesn't have to.
not, I'll have it. And then we'll end after that, but I'll have a preface for the, we're going to separate into edification groups, so I'll preface that before we break off. We're talking about discipline, but I'm going to shift it. It's not the disciplining your children, it's having discipline in your own life. So the question is, how do I change from discipline based on my need for control to discipline based on what is right?
Can you say the question again?
Yeah. How do I change from discipline, like disciplining myself to do something good, or something healthy, or whatever is right? How do I change it in me? Discipline based on my need for control, for my need to make things right. Shifting to discipline based on just what is right. Should have asked an easier
Want
question.
to. You would have to have the want to. Changing the want to.
And this is discipline in your own life, not.
You're better off doing it like that.
You mean like having it your way? It has to be your way?
Maybe I should have picked an easier question. And I just started thinking. I thought of Ephesians 6, 11, 12, but 11, the armor of God. It's not enough. I found myself in motherhood saying to William a lot, like, I want you to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm telling you what to do. And so I'm trying to instill this in him. And I realized the fallacy in that about a month ago, that I don't want him to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That's not good enough. And, you know, we teach scripture, we talk about it, we memorize verses, we are in the word, and still this habit of mine, which is coming out over and over in my parenting, we have to know the why. We have to implement, we have to be doing the right thing because we want to honor God, because we want to obey his word. Put on the whole armor of God. So that's the what. We should put on the whole armor of God. But if we don't know why we need to put on the whole armor of God, we're not going to do it. So the why is that we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That's really important. Like, you can't have if your motivations are because it's the right thing to do, and I just want to do good and do, you know, I honor God, but I want to do good and be good. Like, that's not enough. You have to implement the why, and that's everything in life. You have the why, or you're not going to do it.
Well, I have a question, or I have an answer that I put for the question that I thought that you meant. I used to have to do things a certain way myself. I used to always have to have, like, I wanted it done my way, or I was not happy. Like, Katie knows when she first came into my house, I threw a fit, like, you're not doing this the way I want it done. And so I'm not trying to talk about my injury that I have. I try to stay away from that. But the Lord used my injury to help me get over that problem big time in my life, because when I developed my injury, I couldn't do the dishes, I couldn't fold laundry and hang things up, and I couldn't hardly cook dinner anymore. So I couldn't control that, and so that took me a long time. Through that stage, I had to learn to accept and appreciate help from others, even though they don't do the things the way that I wanted it done or would have done it. And then I had to just be like, you know what? It got done, whether it was my way or not. And so that's exactly the Lord's purpose in my injury, was for other people's benefit, because I was a nightmare when I wanted it my way. And so I'm sorry for that too, Katie. I apologize. Apologizing to my kid. And so that's another example too that goes along with accepting help. That's how, another way I had to learn how to accept help in my life. And it made me realize my way wasn't the right way. The Lord's way is the right way. So my way isn't always going to work.
And I think Tamara kind of answered that too, is your why. Are you exercising discipline to manage your own emotions? Or are you doing it for growth purposes? Are you trying to become the person that you want to be in Christ? Or are you just doing it for yourself? Because if you try to control yourself, that leads to shame, to frustration, to fear. But when you're doing it from a place like your why, when you're constantly checking in with why am I doing this? If it's based on, a godly desire, then that's going to have a totally different outcome. You're not relying on yourself to do it because God doesn't talk in shame and fear. You're doing it from a place not of control, but from growth. And that changes the game. So always checking back in with why. Why am I setting this discipline for myself? And understanding that if you're doing it in your own strength, then that's going to lead to those, those negative aspects. And then it's just for naught.
I think of 3 verses, Colossians 3:17 and 3:23. 3:17 says, "And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father." And 23 says, "And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord, and not unto men." And 1 Corinthians 10:31, "Whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." And I think that has helped my focus.
You had one other question that I thought I had an answer to, and I don't remember the question now, but yeah.
But I didn't want to.
Well, my answer to that one is real quick. It was something, maybe, how do you pull yourself out of the doldrums?
Yeah.
Find somebody that needs help and reach out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. Thank you, every one of you, for your answers, and even some of you in the audience who have shared some things. So okay, I did not mean to go over time so bad. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find it and it's not there. Okay, so it's 12:32. So we were supposed to do edification groups from 12 to 12:30, and then we were going to go eat lunch. I told Harley we're going to be late. I hope you guys are not starving. We've had snacks. I hope you're okay, because we are still going to do the edification groups. So your leaders are Miss Doreen, Miss Betty, and Star. So that's what your little colorful papers are. So everybody who got a little colorful paper for the pink group, pink papers, you guys are with Miss Doreen, and you're going to be in this room here. You can go in either door. Let me just tell you what group you're in, and then I'll tell you what's going to happen. And then for the purple group, Miss Betty, you guys are going to be in this room. Just go in this door in here. And then for the green papers, y'all are going to be with Star, and you're just going to stay in here in the sanctuary.